friends. Welcome to the Thinning of the Veil podcast. I'm your host, Tia Smith, and I hope, my friends, that you are doing a deeper dive, digging into this theme or subject that we have been studying this week, spirit to spirit communication. In our episode yesterday, we talked a lot about the modes and methods that we can experience these heavenly manifestations in. We also talked about the reasons why we would particularly be having these angelic visitors from the other side of the veil. And we also talked about the importance through the spirit of Elijah that this familial spirit brings family members to us as we're trying to save our ancestors. What I haven't talked a lot about on the channel, which is just as relevant, and it's the same pattern contained in that half of the work, is the other half of the gathering of Israel. I talk a lot about saving those on the other side of the veil and the missionary opportunities and temple opportunities that we have for those who have already passed. I don't cover very often those who are currently serving in the other half of the gathering of Israel. We have thousands upon thousands of dedicated men and women of all ages in various different parts of the world, serving, whether it is proselyting or service, and their service is noted and respected by me. And I wanted to kind of cover today in relation to this spirit to spirit communication that in whatever form we gather Israel, there are always angels involved. There's always the thinning of the veil that can and should be happening for those who are involved in being laborers in the Lord's vineyard in these latter days, in whether on this side of the veil or on the other side of the veil. So today's stories are sent to me from viewers who have had missionaries who have felt the thinning of the veil, angelic ministrations coming to those who are teaching and preaching the gospel on this side of the veil. It is interesting to me because it seems like I get similar experiences in bunches. These two experiences came to me within days of each other. And then just actually this last Sunday, we were approached by someone who we are serving with in the YSA. Their son is currently on a mission, and he has had a very similar experience. I tried to get it into today's episode to read it along with these other two experiences, but we wanted to get his permission before we shared it. And, timing issues and stuff like that, it just wasn't going to happen. So maybe look forward to another one of these stories, these kind of angelic ministrations coming in the future. But I wanted to point out today, especially as we're contemplating and pondering on the reality that angels are involved in our lives on the daily if we are serving the Lord with all of our heart, might, mind, and strength, and if we are gathering Israel in whatever way, shape, and form we have been prompted to. So I'm going to read these two experiences, but I wanted to first start with a scripture to remind us the importance of this work and the involvement that the Lord sends and the powers of heaven that are sent for those who are laborers in the vineyard. Let's start in Doctrine and Covenants 84, verse 62. Now, this is obviously a section on the priesthood, but it also is in relation to people coming home, the 12 apostles in Joseph Smith's day, coming home from their missions. And this was received. And it points to us also, not just them as they're coming home off their missions and some getting ready to go out, but it's also about us in these latter days, bringing up this last dispensation within the gathering of Israel. It's Doctrine and Covenants 84:62. Therefore, go ye into all the world, and to whatsoever place ye cannot go, ye shall send, that the testimony may go from you into all the world, unto every creature. Verse 77. And again I say unto you, my friends, for from henceforth I shall call you friends. It is expedient that I give unto you this commandment, that you become even as my friends in days when I was with them, traveling to preach the gospel in my power. Behold, I send you out to prove the world, and the laborer is worthy of his hire. And whoso receiveth you, there I will be also. For I will go before your face. I will be on your right hand and on your left, and my spirit shall be in your hearts, and mine angels round about you to bear you up. For I, the Lord, have put forth my hand to exert the powers of heaven. Ye cannot see it now. Yet a little while, and ye shall see it, and know that I am, and that I will come and reign with my people. With that in mind, I'm going to read my first experience, and it's from my friend Mandy Crane. And I'm going to read just word for word what she sent me. She begins, I am not entirely sure where to begin in sharing some of the experiences I have had, as my connection to family, both living and deceased, has been a consistent thread throughout my life. From a young age, I felt drawn to sit beside my grandmother and listen as she worked on our family history and shared stories of those who came before us. Because my parents were converts to the church, and their parents joined shortly thereafter, there remains a great deal of work to be done within our family lines. That work has become deeply meaningful to me. One particular sacred experience occurred in 2020 while our son was serving a mission in Argentina. He was experiencing many things that should not have been happening that led him to a point of deep desperation. In that moment, he reached out to our stake president, who instructed him to call my husband and me. When he called that Thursday afternoon, we did our best to offer comfort and encouragement, but when the call ended, we were left feeling helpless and concerned that we had not been able to give him the hope he needed. I felt helpless, and all I could think of was to fast together as a family on his behalf. I contacted our children, explained the situation, and the following day we fasted together. That same evening, we had previously scheduled a family sealing session at the temple. As I witnessed the sealings for our ancestors, while our son and his wife were kneeling across the altar from one another, I heard a very clear and distinct voice in my mind say, "You have done this for us. We will take care of him." In that moment, I was overwhelmed with emotion and understanding. I felt a deep assurance that our ancestors loved our son just as much as we did, and that his eternal welfare was just as precious to them as it was to us. I also realized that the work we were doing in the temple was something they could not do for themselves, but we could do it for them. The same goes for the fact that we could not be there with our son during that difficult time. They could. I felt such a sweet reassurance that we were not alone, and neither was he. That weekend was General Conference. The following Monday, when we spoke with our son again, I asked him how the weekend had gone. He hesitated and said it had been kind of strange. He explained that he had felt as though someone had been beside him the entire time. So much so that he kept turning around, almost expecting to see someone there. He couldn't see anyone, but he could clearly feel a presence. Later that week, while tracting, he and his companion contacted a family. The mother said it wasn't a good time to meet, but invited them to return later. When they returned, she looked at them and asked, "Where is the other one?" Confused, my son replied that only he and his companion had been there previously. She insisted that there had been another man with them, the one dressed in white. It was unmistakably clear to us that there were angels round about them, bearing them up during a time of great need. This is only one of many experiences I have been blessed with through the Spirit and my connection with my ancestors. I've also received guidance and information through dreams, often providing direction or insight as to who needed to be found or the importance of the work. I truly do not know where my life would be without my family, both those who walk beside me now and those who surround us unseen. We are so blessed to have the knowledge that the gospel brings that we are never alone. I'm grateful that I was given permission to share this sacred family experience. I talked to Mandy actually yesterday or the day before. I've talked to a lot of people, but I'm excited she's going to be a guest on to explain some of those other experiences that she's had. Now I wanted to relate another story from Becky Pidcock. And she relates, my daughter returned from her mission to Sweden a few months ago. Last February, while Mike and I were on a trip to Hawaii, we got a call early one morning. Sage was calling us, and of course, we answered. Shortly after, we also received a call from her mission president. Sage and her companion had returned home to their little house that is hundreds of years old. This house is so old that the doorknob continually falls off anytime the sisters go in and out of the house. Yet they can't find a replacement for it because they don't make those parts anymore. They went home for lunch when they heard an urgent knocking at the front door. Sage went to answer when she felt very distinctly, "Do not open that door." It almost scared her. So she peeked out the window where 5 men were outside, 2 by the van or car with the back open and the others trying to open the door. All of them were wearing black hoodies and beanies. She had locked it, but knew from experience that if twisted right, the knob would fall off and they could get in. These big men tried for 45 minutes to get into their house. Sage grabbed a kitchen knife and her companion and ran upstairs to hide. They hid until finally the men left in frustration. She didn't call the police because she didn't know the number. It isn't 911 like it is here. She called the mission president, who was 6 hours away. Needless to say, they left immediately and only went back to grab the rest of their clothes. This town that these sisters were in has one of the highest rates for sex trafficking in all of Europe. She was so shaken, and so was I, as she and her mission president recounted the events. A few days later, still on our vacation, it was around 4 a.m., and I had a dream about my grandpa. He and I were very close in this life, and I am sure that I was his favorite. In my dream, I was on a stage with my mom, his daughter, and my granddaughter. We were putting on some sort of play, but it was complete chaos. I was trying so hard to get people to be kind and work together. Then as I looked in the audience, right near the front row in the left section, I saw my grandpa. I was so excited to see him. I ran off stage to talk with him. He said, "Becky girl," which is what he called me. "You are doing so good. Keep up the things you are doing." He hugged me, and I asked if I could get one picture with him. He chuckled and said I could try, but that no one would be able to see him. I wanted him to stay so badly. I had so many questions for him. I hugged him, and he said, "I want you to know that I held the door, and I wouldn't let those men come in and take Sage. I will be with her the rest of her mission, and I will keep her safe." I was then shown my grandfather through his eyes, the door, and him holding it. I was crying in my sleep, and Mike was on this side trying to wake me up. It felt like I had one foot on both sides of the veil. In my next phone call to Sage, I asked her if her door looked like this. I then described the scene I was shown by my grandpa. She cried as she asked how I knew what her door looked like. I then shared with her my experience. Later that week, her mission president went to the house to see for himself and get the remaining items that had been left behind. As he opened the door, with one turn, the knob fell off. He also told Sage that she must have had guardian angels looking out for her. She then recounted my experience to him, to which he said he had no doubt. They are all around us, wanting and willing to help us. And whoso receiveth you, there I will be also. For I will go before your face. I will be on your right hand and on your left, and my spirit shall be in your hearts, and mine angels round about you to bear you up. I want to thank my friends for sending me these stories, that the world may hear. God is in the details of all of our lives. He has sent his angels. Generally and most often, they are ancestors for protection, for comfort, and to help us within the gathering. And you can be assured, my friends, that as we save our family on the other side of the veil, that they are sent to help our children in many ways that we cannot even comprehend, whether they are serving a mission or not.
And that, my friends, that reason alone is one of the biggest reasons why I continue to serve and save my ancestors, because my children need all the help that they can get. And some things are not in my power to help. So I'm grateful for the knowledge that angels can be sent, that our children can be protected, that our loved ones can be given um, messages from the other side of the veil, and that spirit to spirit communication is part of the doctrine of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Please know that you are never alone, and that as you serve as a laborer in his vineyard for the last time, there are powers and protections that we cannot even comprehend, and that angelic ministrations will be a part of our ministry from now really until the end. Thanks for joining me today. I hope these stories have been inspirational to you, that have inspired you to continue to do your work for your ancestors, knowing that your loved ones who may be on missions are clearly being protected by family members and by the Savior Jesus Christ. That is the promise that we can all hang our hats on. Have a great day. Join me tomorrow in Colette's Gathering Academy when she talks about my heritage, which is another super important and helpful way to find our ancestors that we may continue to do their work. And then Friday is going to be taught another talk about 5 ways that angels communicate to us. So thanks for joining me. And I hope you are really searching and seeking more about this subject and not just taking my word for it. It is a subject that is sacred to study, and you will find that your eyes are opened and that your ears are open to what is actually happening. Have a great day. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.